Hello and welcome to We Won't Finish This podcast, where we write movies that we pitch to each other. We'll never make them. I'm Spaceman. This is Zeebz. I'm up tonight pitching the movie. But before we get into that, why don't you tell them where they can find us?
You can listen on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Music, and anywhere you get podcasts. Watch our live streams on Twitch and YouTube. If you're in here right now, hello. Come hang out in the chat and help us write a movie. Please check us out on social media. We're on most platforms. That's the best way you'll find out when we'll be recording our next live stream. You can find all those links at linktree/WWFTpod. All
right. So as I said, I'm up tonight. So this one is different from the first one. The first one I did was a comedy, a little more linear.
The Underside, the Flat Earth Expedition.
Yep, the expedition to the edge, which was a fun ride. So this one, it's a little bit different. So not a comedy. I kind of picture this more as almost like if I had to do comparisons like Black Mirror, Twilight Zone. So that's meant to be the kind of feel. Obviously, we'll discover more as we go here. But all right. So kind of preface this. So here's our setting. Just imagine, it's a world similar to our own. It's got, we're on a planet. We got a moon. We got a sun. We're orbiting.
I've been picturing that all day.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty easy. So it's a lot like present day. I mean,
even more relatable.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So one of the jokes I wrote down here, religions are founded, empires rise and fall. There's a taco restaurant, that'll eventually have a double-decker taco. It'll be $1. It was awesome, and then they'll take it away, and it'll never come back.
Wait, I'm sorry.
This will eventually happen somewhere.
I might have missed a part.
I just really love double-decker tacos, and they're gone, and I miss them.
Took them away, and you're angry, and you decided to hide.
And I'm using our platform here to see if anybody's listening and will help us bring back the double-decker.
Well,
so, if you're out there.
It's a righteous cause.
It is. But anyways.
So if anyone's into that, please comment, and we'll form a militia.
Yeah, there we go. I like it. All right, so in here, we have, honestly, a large span of time this is going to go on. So we're on quite the journey here. I do feel like, what I got here, what I'm about to launch into, I do feel like it's a really good, I do see some visuals to it, which I'll kind of get into, but a good, backdrop. But we need to explore a little bit more of what kind of story can we put to this? So we'll get there. But all right, so time goes on. We're just kind of starting at the beginning of time. Let's just kind of go run through it. Stone Age, we're getting into the Bronze Age, whatever. The time's flowing. And we're having all these advancements. And, basically the one that comes most into play into our story is the telescope. The telescope is very important. So in here, I'm kind of picturing, just again, kind of like trips through the ages. We're getting some kind of good shots, this kind of stuff. But
so this is like a world evolving over time, is what you're telling me?
Exactly. It's not quite like ours.
Okay.
It's a little bit different.
Okay.
So
this is... How would you're just going to check in at times with whoever the current inhabitants are?
Right.
And then you're talking hundreds, thousands of years you're going to...
Yeah, exactly.
This movie's going to cover.
Quick, run through it. Like I said, it's just, that's the way I'm kind of picturing this kind of starting.
Has to be
we
very
get to
quick.
this point. And so, as I said, the telescope's pretty important. Now, we're going to fixate on the moon here. So, on the moon, with the telescope, we're starting to see things that are just... not quite like what we experienced in this timeline here. So this is where we get, our first divergence. Now, the moon, when we're looking at this, we start to see almost what seems like just shapes. We'll just call it that. We're just seeing these things, and it's just one of those things that we have, maybe philosophers are talking about it. A lot of in the community is kind of like, okay, these almost feel like they're man-made. Essentially, these just look too kind of perfect.
So when we look at the moon with a telescope,
yes,
we see there's artifacts on there. Isn't that already happened? Is there people argue it?
Oh, I'm sure people argue it.
Face on Mars or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's not quite like that, but we'll just kind of say this is still pretty. I don't want to call it ancient, but picture this is the first telescope. So you got this. It's a good philosopher talking point, but nothing really comes of it. Just a lot of just wild speculation. Just imagine looking back in essentially our history books.
If you were Galileo and you looked up, and you would be like, there's people living up there. If you saw anything built, you'd say that's another planet with people living on it.
Right, exactly. So, we're going to kind of follow this theme here. To telescope, it's progressing a little bit. Technology's kind of there. And just this conversation kind of stays alive. Like the moon just has this specific look to it. And now I got some random ideas here to kind of put down because I want to kind of get a good visual here. One of the things that I had that I felt like was kind of interesting. So, obviously we have our moon here, but if you looked up and you pictured this on it, feel like we have like a big storm. You know what I mean? Like this, say it's got like kind of like the Jupiter big red spot, that type of thing. Not exactly, but you look up and you just kind of see like the moon just kind of like looks a little crazier, obviously, than ours. So I'm trying to put that out
there.
There's
activity up there.
It feels like it. And like I kind of got into, some of the thinking points here of, what if that's locked into orbit? Like we're always seeing, obviously, the bright side of the moon here, So what if we get the storm is kind of always following the Earth? There's always something there. Say it's like a big like cyclone, I don't know.
We are the storm.
Yeah, well, of course.
Throughout history. Okay, yeah. Plague on the moon.
Yeah.
This whole time we send rockets up there and people step on it.
So I was trying to figure out how a lot of this could actually look. Because if we're saying we're seeing shapes and I've got this like storm here, so how does that work? Does it take up like most of it? Like I'm trying
to... Take up most of what?
Like when you look up at the moon, you obviously only see a certain amount of it.
Oh.
So is it kind of like,
you see like
look
tornadoes?
At a pizza. We got the crust. Maybe we're seeing shapes on the crust. I don't know. That's just an example.
Okay. Well, okay. So this is just some guys sitting looking at this, freaking out about it or something?
Not really.
Or they discuss it?
This is just more
looking
like
at them,
a little bit
they're
of
looking at
world
us.
Building. Yeah, it's just a little bit of world building. So we've got this. It's just a debate. But picture this kind of debate coming up. In some of our ancient times here.
Okay.
Like a few hundred years ago, even where would it even go? They're like, I don't know. It looks weird up there, but what am I going to go check it out? Like, I'm using a telescope in like 1700. Like it's not good.
Okay. So at this point, they all agree that like, oh yeah, there's a city or something up there.
It feels like there's something to it.
We know nothing else about it.
Exactly. There's something to it, but we're not going to figure it out. So just imagine it's more of just like the scientific community. It's a debate, all kinds of wild theories. Feel like if you looked back in our textbooks now, you saw that like this was speculation and it's crazy. Like it's just I feel like it's just an interesting, thing. I don't know. Just kind of like I said, picture yourself in middle school, kind of going through and be like, oh, all right. So we thought there was aliens, and it was like
but it never came.
Widely believed.
Nothing ever came of it. As the technology progressed, we were like, oh, that was just like some garbage.
Yeah, I mean maybe. Like,
okay.
But I mean, again, the debate goes on. It just rages amongst the world leaders
forever. They say maybe they'd move to the other side of the moon to hide from us, and now we can't see them.
So, but I mean, we get to our next point here. So it's another time jump. So many years go by, technological advancements happen. Thought of could this be the answer to the moon problem? Comes about every time.
So you're saying that this movie would just start with like a sequence of cavemen going up all the way to like horses become people riding in cars and stuff. So we would just kind of do that up until the modern or the first telescopes.
Right, exactly.
And then you were essentially just going to relevant times in history to match this moon debate.
Right, exactly.
When does it re-spark?
Right.
Okay.
We always, in this scenario, we always feel like there's something going on there.
To be honest, I was having a hard time grasping what was going on here, but I think I've got a good... Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like right now, all we're really doing is we're kind of just building, this kind of world here. But again, it's just like similar technology advancements, whatever gets to this point. But we always feel there's something going on up there. Like we kind of like appear to see some kind of like shapes too good to be true to appear in nature.
They know we saw them.
Yeah. Maybe there's this storm up there that's kind of cool. And honestly, I don't really have anything else for that. It's just more of like an interesting, like, how would that look, seeing it from Earth?
You're asking how would it look? You'd have to think of how would it look if you lived on the moon and witnessed a storm happening on Earth. So this is how it would be, is you would look and you'd say, oh, there's a big storm going on.
Yeah.
I don't see any houses or anything. Maybe people don't live on Earth. But then you see the tornado and there's like a picnic table flying through.
Yeah. Yeah, you got a cow like in Twister.
Who built that picnic table? And that would be the debate, is you'd see a tornado with like, I don't know, a canopy tent flying in it, and somebody'd be like, I think they're having a music festival up there.
Something's
and
going
the wind
on.
Picked up. He did not put stakes in, even though his neighbors told him he needed to put stakes in. He's not from around here and he needs to listen, and he didn't listen.
Yeah. So now with this time jump, now we're at a point where we've got some like better technology. And like, I think I kind of noted here, like, imagine not great technology, but we're still maybe in like World War I type era. It's like, that's kind of what we're dealing with. So like, I don't know if you've ever played like the Fallout games, kind of like early type of Fallout, just kind of like a weird aesthetic, like.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So we're in this time period now. Things have obviously progressed. The first radio comes into existence. Things are actually like starting to happen, and but telescopes also get better. So that's just kind of, like, so there's a little bit of theme here. But we get to where this is a little more powerful, and we look up there and be like, all right, we very strongly believe that there's something there. Now, we've got some pretty clear evidence.
How clear is this evidence? What do they see?
We're going to say that basically they're seeing ruins, on there, just like essentially ruined, we'll just call them like mega cities.
So they missed the good stuff.
Oh, yeah, they missed the good stuff.
We were saying the telescope, we didn't have a good enough telescope in time to see the good stuff.
Yeah. But, I mean, if you think about it, if you're seeing these giant ruins, like, maybe somebody could be there. Like, you're seeing ruins.
Not over.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
not over.
We've had all these apocalyptic shows, whatever. Like, maybe there was some kind of apocalypse. But, being in, we'll just say Earth, and seeing that, we're like, we've got to check that out. We've got to see if, like, maybe they can understand, like, our, transmissions. Like, we've got to think that this is a completely different, it's essentially would be aliens, but just from the moon.
There are aliens.
Yeah, exactly.
They live on our moon. There are aliens.
Right. So we don't have an event like World War II. We're stuck in essentially World War I times. Now, what I mean by that is the rocket
warfare.
Rocket technology wasn't really pushed, because after World War II, like, obviously, like, I'm not going to go into details here, but a lot of like the scientists from Germany defected over to the U.S. and we just started going nuts with like rocket technology.
Yeah.
So we're just going to say there's no real push there, and that's where I feel like at this point time would kind of slow down. So we
don't get that technology.
Right, exactly. You don't get that. There's no big push here. So I'm sure you can kind of see where I'm going with the flow of this. But now we're kind of like stuck in these times, but we can see there's clearly ruins on the moon. Like, what does, this is kind of where I'd kind of like to hear some of your ideas. Like, what does like a scientific community make of this? What do the general public make of this? Because you got to think, like, what if somebody told you, or we just discovered long ago that, like, hey, we've got the ruins on the moon, but like, we can't get there.
I think general public, it'd be very intriguing, but if there was no information to be had, it would just kind of be like something wiped them out. And you'd want to know more, but there's nothing to know. And I feel like, I don't know, military governments, they'd probably be more interested in what happened.
Yeah.
And like actually trying to dig into it. But you're saying no space travel yet.
Yeah, you're just saying you're limited by technology. You've got this, what you feel is pretty concrete information, but it's like, what do I do with it? And like, that's where we're kind of just stuck.
So you can see dead aliens, essentially, is what you're saying,
yeah,
but there's
sure,
like nothing
ruins
about them.
Right.
Well, like you said, there could be some left.
There could be.
You're witnessing something bad has happened. Or maybe they just moved.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe they just moved.
Yeah.
And they don't keep up on it.
Exactly. It's just, that's what I kind of want to invoke here. It's like, where is, like,
you could look up at the
mindset?
Moon and it just shows, there'd be a feeling of despair.
Yeah.
In a weird way of just kind of like, we never see anything move. It's just ruins and...
Yeah, nothing's new is happening.
Doesn't look good. It seems like we missed the party.
Yeah, exactly. Like the telescope technology, we're just going to say is like, you can clearly make out what looks to be these shapes, but you're not going to see close enough. You're not going to make out individual structures, nothing like that. So it's still pretty limited. But yeah, like I feel like you're pretty right there. It would be just almost that like feeling of despair.
It would be really crazy because think about if you could see another planet and let's say you knew of them. Like it was like, we trade with these people, people travel back and forth. And then like it blew up. Right. And for the next 1,000 years, you just had like the debris orbiting your planet. You would see like spikes in depression during the months it was visible. And you know what I'm saying? Like people would just be like, I go outside and there's the blown up, Challenger,
right,
flight, essentially, but it had millions of people living on it.
Right.
Billions maybe, Yeah. So that's where, that would be a very it'd be like a car crash in front of your house that nobody ever cleans up.
Yeah, well, terrible.
You know,
yes,
you just be like, yeah, I guess I just gotta.
I know we just live with this now.
Yeah,
like
we're all aware of it. We don't really know what happened, but it doesn't seem good.
Right, exactly.
We don't know what these things were.
Right, we feel like just hopelessness.
Okay,
like,
I'm starting to get the vibe of the, like you said, Black Mirror, Twilight Zone kind of, okay.
Yeah, so we've got this apocalyptic scenario. We have no idea what happened right next door to us, and we can see what clearly appears to be these things. Like, it's like there's no kind of activity, there's nothing. We've been studying this for a very long time. So it's like we can only feel a little bit hopeless, like what happened? It's like, but are people still there? Because, I mean, think about it. We would still have survivors in an apocalypse scenario, well, most of them. And, maybe they're underground, who knows? Like there would always
somebody would survive.
Yeah, there would
like
always
a nuke
be something.
There'd be some weird, the house collapsed on the guy just right where the radiation didn't get in and he, like there'd be something.
Right.
Some guy got a house collapse on him like in a pallet of beans and just made it.
Exactly. So, at this point in time where I kind of just I just put a little note here. It's like, what kind of, we can get a little weird as far as kind of world building type of stuff here. So I kind of wanted to take a pause and say World War I just kind of lasted that era, well, not World War I, but that type of era, industrial, whatever. Say we just sat there for almost 100 years. What kind of stuff would we get out of that?
What would seeing that site on the moon do to the psyche of people in relation to being pro or anti-war, do you think, in a World War I time period?
That's a good question.
Do you think that would be more like, fuck it, it's all hopeless, let's just keep the war going, who cares, we all die eventually? Or would it be some we're better than that?
You would like to think
we're better
that.
than that. We don't need to we're not going to destroy ourselves like that.
I know, we don't know what happened there, but we're not going to do that because we would like to feel that we're better than that.
We don't want to be the next planet where people are looking at us in a telescope saying, wow, they fucked up somewhere.
Yeah, what the hell happened there? We'll never know. But yeah, that's kind of where we are stuck kind of there. World War I type of,
okay. So let's get a little
technology.
More specific. Do we want to start putting, you said it's time jumping, but who are we mainly following? Scientists?
Right. Yeah. And that's where
military,
I'm light on that
this?
Here. So it's pretty open. I do feel like this.
It would be like Galileo originally, who would just
I'm
be
sure,
blah,
exactly.
blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then we'd move forward, and then some, now it's just university scientists are seeing it.
Right, because of, how I feel this isn't a feature-length movie. I feel like it's more like a Black Mirror or a Twilight Zone. I feel like you can kind of see different people over the years. It's just, I don't think it really matters too much.
No real, recurring character, though, if we're moving chronologically.
I don't think you'd really have to. Not with this one.
But we could spend enough time with them that will give
exactly.
them, you introduce them, this is what life's like, this is the time period. Here's their discovery.
Right.
Or their next step.
They get
to
this
thoughts.
point, and then that's where it sits for, a considerable amount of time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I did know here, obviously they would be trying to figure out how we can, figure out the moon problem. I'm going to keep referring to it as that. It's the moon problem. They want to know, that's the biggest thing, but they don't have the technology to do it. So, we say we're stuck in this for, 100 years or so. What kind of technology comes about? He said some weird, world building.
I think they would get out of World War I then. If everybody was that focused on we got to get the fuck up there, then I think people would kind of agree, let's squash our shit and race to the moon.
So, sorry, if I keep
the space race would be sooner probably.
You would think, but we didn't have the, the World War II to advance the rocket technology. That's where I say we got out of the war. I don't want to say that's raging on.
You're giving a lot of credit
I'm more saying
to
the
Nazis.
The era. I'm not trying to get into that.
You're giving a lot of credit to Nazis for what we have today.
But
it's not that kind of show.
No, it's not. I agree.
Get off my platform. No.
We're talking about rockets.
Okay.
All right. We don't have that push.
It's a slippery slope talking about rockets.
I know.
All
so
right.
we'll gloss over that part.
Okay.
We just don't have that push. So anyways, all right. So we will say the day finally comes. We make this, this advancement happens. Now we have viable rockets. So of course, obviously the first thing we're going to do, we got to send something to the moon. That is the first thing. We all wanted to get to the moon, obviously, just in Earth terms and just be the first ones there. We had the space race, yes. This one's obviously going to be different. What's going on there? We got to figure out how, what's going on there. So day finally presents itself that they can do this. So a ship's going to be sent to the moon. We're not going to send people because, at first when we were sending, just testing or whatever, it was dogs, monkeys, whatever. So this one's a little bit different. We have a clear purpose. We're going to send something there. So what do they send as the payload in this? What scenarios are they planning for? So, obviously I have a few ideas here, but it's kind of open-ended. We had
I think the eventual goal would be to sift through the rubble, and if there's not anything obvious, to probably start like an archaeological dig, just because that's what we would do here, and this would probably be the most unique artifacts. Like, it would be way more rewarding to dig up there than any other site on Earth, because you're still just going to be finding human artifacts. They're going to be things that have been found before. They're going to be things similar to things you found before. We're up there, it'll all be info. Even if you found a bowl that was just like ours, it would be like, they used bowls too. And it would be important and people would be into it, so.
Soup confirmed.
Yeah, exactly. Soup confirmed. They even called it Bush's baked beans.
They got some Hormel corned beef hash up there somehow. Anyways, so all right, like in this scenario, I'm picturing that since they have this very, very clear purpose, we're gonna try to send, this something that's a representation of the written human language. So we're gonna send something like that. Think, kind of a
we're
Carl
sending
Sagan,
a Georgia Guidestone up there, essentially.
Sure.
To tell them our language.
Mm-hmm.
Seems offensive.
We're sending that. We're sending essentially what would be like a long range communicator. We're trying to plan that maybe there are some people there, and I'm sure they could send a lander or something too. Kind of like we were talking about.
We're setting up a landmark. So if one of their inhabitants, the moon inhabitants, finds it, there will be a care package of here's how you talk to us. Here's a way to figure out our language. Here's okay.
That's the scenario I kind of feel that they'd be you know what? Since we are seeing ruins there, maybe there could be life. We're not there yet as far as sending a person there. That's not going to happen.
Or we can airdrop something.
Exactly.
Okay.
We can send a payload. So a couple of the questions, I would have
a light that'll blink for 15 years or something. They have some military grade something on there that it's somebody will find this if they're in the area.
But now you get to open the door to who gets to make these decisions, who's sending, who's deciding what to send
on the other
there.
side who's on the other end of that communicator when they call, and who gets to tell them the real scoop. I know some people I wouldn't want to be the first ones telling the aliens about me.
Exactly.
Who knows what they'll say.
Right. So that's some good questions, who gets to decide this? Do world leaders come together? They all kind of decide on, hey, this is the stuff we provide, what all are we sending in this thing?
So it's creating a meeting of all the world leaders to agree on what note do we want to leave for the aliens.
Yeah, exactly. what really, I mean, how do we approach this? Because this is a pretty pivotal moment in the history for our story here.
I agree.
What do we send there?
What do we tell them?
Yep.
Just rickroll them.
Exactly. Just send it on repeat. You can't stop it.
Yeah. Just say we have speakers hidden all over the area. So when somebody triggers this thing, for miles, all they'll hear is that song on repeat as they walk through the sandy desert of their ruined civilization. Imagine that happening. No. You're the guy who fell in the pallet of baked beans. And then you get out of there and you're finally just I think I'm good. I think the radiations or whatever is cleared. And then you're walking, you're oh, what's this? Maybe there's more food in here. Anything but beans. And you open it and you've been rickrolled and you somehow know what that is, even though you live on the moon.
I can't believe they got me.
And now you're just wandering through a desert as that plays for days and days and weeks.
Yep. Just somehow the whole planet hears it. But you mean one of the notes I had here is
that's dark.
Would religious leaders try to get involved?
With the moon? The moon?
Yeah.
Oh, there'd be so many theories, and be that's a whole thing on its own.
Yeah, and imagine the public also getting involved. we got like, the people who just, why should we be communicating? Like, what are we opening ourselves up to? It's like, we should be cautious about this.
Yeah.
So, there's all this stuff kind of coming together. It's just like, like I feel like it's just this big discussion. Things don't just happen. It's going to take years to make the decisions for this, for everything to finally get, put together. But, yeah, all of this kind of, butting heads and whatever, when we will just say that, we're not trying to, send religious information out there. We're not going to do that here. We're just going to try and keep it scientific. Just here's some written language and, essentially like press this button to talk to us. Like that's all we're going to try to do here. Now, after this long journey.
And then who waits with it? Like we said, who's.
Yeah. Well, I imagine it's kind of like, where we had the moon landing and just like everybody in that big conference center, like, all of them are monitoring channels or whatever. Like,
just waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't, who would be the one that talks for us? So I don't have an answer to that question. Because, like, what world leader do you pick? Or do you pick all of them? Do they all come to a consensus?
And would they even trust each other? Because, like, if the U.S. would be like, yeah, we'll have the phone. And Russia will be like, well, you're going to tell us when they call, right? You'd be like, yeah, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they call and they're just like, yeah, just listen, just be careful about Russia. They're kind of, And then Russia's like, hey, have you heard from the aliens? We're hearing rumors from China. They said something about the aliens call. And they'd be like, we haven't heard anything. No,
it was a wrong number.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it was like another planet's moon. It wasn't ours.
Yeah, it was. I think it was Mars. Like, chill out. It's all good. But so now we have. We'll just say this finally came together. We're sending this out there. So let's see here. So the ship will be sent to the moon. The payload, it's meant to establish communication if anybody happens to be on the other side. But it's essentially like a time capsule for us too. It's essentially what we all kind of came together to agree on. It's like, we don't know if anybody's there. If somebody is there, we want to provide some stuff. But at the very least...
So we left them a note. Here's how you get a hold of us. Here's, I don't know, Jackie Kennedy's dress. You know what I mean? Like, what kind of time... here's some artifacts from,
There's a note I wrote to my kitten when I was 8 years old.
Here's some old World War I letters.
Yeah, just picture it. Just essentially, it's just a time capsule for this planet. I keep, just comparisons Earth. But yeah, that's what they kind of agree upon. So now
$10 in chips to the Mirage Casino,
right?
In
case you happen to swing by, come see it. All right. So after a long mission, send the payload to the moon. It's happening now. It's finally happening. It's a huge moment for the world.
A human or just
no. It's a huge moment for the world.
It's huge, but it's you want a human up there. We all want a human up there.
Well, I mean, it's comparable. Yeah, because we're finally, this is our first real launch. We're sending it. Like, everybody's tuning in. So we're just gonna say we didn't have a ton of a bunch of different random tests and whatever before. Like, this is we figured we got this right. We're sending it. So the launch happens. The whole world's tuning in. Launch happens, and the exit from the planet's gravity is successful. Ship starts second leg of the journey.
Okay.
Everything's looking good.
I was worried about that second leg.
Well, in transit for many hours of tracking, constant back and forth updates, communications lost. We don't know where the ship is now. Lost. It's a scramble. See what might have happened. People are jumping on their telescopes trying to see if they can spot.
So now we are going to get a real wrong number when that box lands somewhere else.
You never know. But yeah, so communication's just lost. We don't know what happened. It's gone. We can't see anything. We can't see far enough. We don't know if it made it.
Okay.
We just can't. It's not there. So we're okay. Well, what do we do now?
I will say, if this somehow leads to another flat Earth scenario, I'm going to call you out.
It does not. Sorry to disappoint.
No, all right. Well,
so now
when we were talking about movies, and I think there was a moment where we might have had a moment where I said, just think big, and you are thinking very large with these. This movie will span thousands of years. It's interplanetary. They're going to the edge of the Earth. It's
called We Won't Finish This.
You can set your you
pretty big ideas.
You can
got to deliver.
Really set some big plans if you don't ever plan on seeing them through. So yeah,
you're
right.
A lot of talk.
Perfect. The budgets are through the roof.
Exactly.
For sure.
Obviously.
No studio would ever
No, they wouldn't touch this.
consider. Yeah, of course. But that's why
We're
we're
going to
here.
hire Tom Hanks for just like, yeah, he got the first telescope. It's Tom Hanks looking. Like, as Galileo.
Tom Hanks as Galileo in The Moon Problem.
Yep, the moon problem.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually a good name for it. We'll call it that.
I
like
it. Yeah.
But all right, obviously, losing communication with the ship, we don't know what happened. It's a major blow to efforts to establish communication. Like there's, or just get something there in general. It would take a long time for another mission's going to happen. We can't figure out what happened.
Pretty bummed. And I think that they wouldn't be in a huge hurry to do it again.
Yeah, exactly. It was insanely expensive. Like everybody they put so much time into it.
You said there was a debate before. The who cares people would be winning right now.
Yeah.
Where they'd be like, who cares? We just wasted so much money. Who cares about all that? Isn't World War I still happening?
No, I mean, though, it's
I feel like
like
if there
I said,
was
it's
a meeting,
like the era.
I feel like this would unify in a way. If they really needed we had to pool our resources with other countries to do it, I think this would be a unifying thing of let's go search that wreckage and find out.
Right, at this
point.
We
all just basically saw a whole alien civilization has crashed on our moon. Not even just, because that'd be another spin too. Let's say it wasn't even a civilization. We witnessed like an alien craft crash into the moon.
Yeah.
And then it's like, we got to get the fuck up there
we gotta
and
check
find
that out.
Yeah, like I want to see what's up there. They probably got some cool shit. What are they listening to on those flights?
Right, exactly. It's probably some fire. So, and just to clarify, we're not like in a world war. It hasn't been lasting that long. Like it's more of just that like era. It's just an easy comparison. Everything,
generation.
Right. Everything is like, we're all in this together. There's no major wars happening or nothing like that at this point in time. At least that's what I picture here. But more time passes. We send more of ships, basically launches. We're trying to recreate this, but every single time we lose communication. Every time. So now it's kind of like, okay, well, what's going on out there? We can't send anything that way, so there's no means of communication we can even establish, because somehow, even though we feel like we're getting everything right here, something happens once we're basically launched to the moon in transit, leaving the atmosphere.
Something at the same point.
Yep.
It goes dark.
Exactly.
Something is eating our technology, and they're not calling us back like we wanted them to.
Right. So, at that point, like, what kind of wild speculation could you even make? It's like, what is happening? What are we passing through? Some kind of weird rays or something?
That would probably be the argument, is that there's some kind of radio frequency or something that almost like there's a bubble around this area where that's probably what destroyed them too. Is there was some weird, I don't know what to call it, I guess frequency or just a bubble of something that is like, it kills your communication, probably kills life. Your buildings are gonna slowly fall into disrepair.
Yeah, exactly. What the hell could be out there?
Who's watching? Like I said, we're looking at them. They're looking at us. It's like the Joe Pesci and I think it was Goodfellas or whatever. He's like, we had the same technology that the FBI was looking at us with. We look right back at them with.
Exactly.
It's like, that's pretty much what we were doing with the aliens. It's just kind of like, I'm gonna get a rocket before you, looking through your telescope at them.
At this point, we have, essentially this issue where we can see ruins up there. We know it's there. Yeah,
something happened.
We're confirmed. There's some ruins up there. We can't obviously see every speck of fine detail, or it's not at that point. But we can see ruins. Every time we try to send something there, it gets destroyed. Or we lose contact. Whatever happens.
I'm sensing a large twist coming.
There could be.
I'm sensing that there's a finale.
Yep,
there might be. We still got a ways to go here.
Yeah,
we're 34 minutes in, but
it's a little late on the notes soon here, but
we can talk about this though.
Oh, exactly. But yeah, so we have all these attempts. Essentially, it's almost like a dead conversation at this point. It's like, what can we even do? The world has been trying to send something there. It doesn't work. No matter how big or small we make these rockets, we always lose contact. Just nothing seems to be happening. So at this point, again, we have some passage of time.
Well, I feel like at that point, the who cares debaters win. Because if you've already tried it multiple times, it keeps cutting off. I really can't think of a solution.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you don't know where it's coming from. You don't know. I mean, maybe we could try a different kind of shield on the ship this time or whatever. But if it just keeps happening and you've already thought that you've tanked this thing up, I think they would eventually just kind of throw in the towel and be like, we don't know what's happening up
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
And the debate would come back up, like you said, we need another passage of time, because it would almost have to be like generations later.
Yeah.
Somebody's like, well, yeah, but they had bullshit technology back then. Now we could do it. And then the debate would fire up enough that they would try again.
Yeah.
But it would be like probably every couple hundred years they
You
try.
would think. Right.
And then if it fails, it's like, well, fuck that. And then it takes another couple hundred years for people to be like, no, I think we could do it.
Right.
And so, yeah, this really could drag out.
So, yeah, we do have like another, just like you're saying, another large passage of time here. Like all these ships they keep trying to launch, as things keep happening. You're right. They just kind of back off. It's like, well, we obviously need another advancement. We can't do anything at this point. So, we're just going to have to keep watching. Keep watching, see if we can see anything up there. Let's focus on that part. So they focus way more on the monitoring. Over the years, advancements happen.
And another craft from a different planet lands there, and they check out the wreckage, and we get super jealous.
Exactly. That'd be terrible. You're like, oh, come on.
You'd be like,
that's ours.
What is it? And they're looking, they're like, he's hauling gold out of there.
Are those diamonds?
Son of a bitch.
They just showed up with burlap sacks.
Yeah. Straight looting the whole planet. Look at all this shit we couldn't see.
They're like, oh, come on.
Yeah. That'd be the argument, is that people pushing for the excursion would be like,
what's in it for us?
They'd be essentially promising resources. They'd be like,
I'm sure.
People know that the moon must be made of blah, 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 and that could be valuable, and we could mine this, and that means if this is there, that means this is there. And
right.
There'd be so many different arguments of, how this will pay for itself. We just got to get up there.
Yep. We just got to figure out, A, getting there, and B, getting back. It's totally fine. We'll figure it out.
It's the classic, yeah, sure, I just got to go get it.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like from like a sketchy guy.
Yep.
Yeah, just give me the money. I just got to go get it.
Yep, exactly.
I'll be right back. Like that's essentially what it is. It'd be like, we just got to get to the moon. I'm telling you, we're going to be richer than ever. There's going to be more money and value of resources on that moon than dollars exist here. So you will essentially you'll have everything.
All right, now I think we're getting into Don't Look Up on the Netflix movie. I don't know if you've seen that one. That was kind of like that one was like a meteor was crashing into the world. And
it wasn't Jonah Hill, was it?
Yeah, it was. It was him and Leonardo DiCaprio.
Okay, so you're right. Yeah, they did do a similar thing.
Yeah, they did.
Where they were like,
oh no, we're gonna be totally rich.
Yeah, it's like there's $12 trillion worth of platinum up there. We just got to go get it and then come back here and sell it.
Yeah, we're all gonna be so rich.
Yeah, everybody will be rich after this.
All right. So segueing back into this. Over the years, many advancements happen. Finally, one advancement in long-range monitoring reveals something never before seen.
We can still communicate with every one of the lost radio frequencies.
The inhabitants of the moon have erected massive signs in great letters. The planet's letters, so stuff we sent to them. Stop. They listen. So they are telling us, do not communicate. Stop your efforts.
This is the twist I wanted.
This is the twist you wanted.
So they're hiding.
They are hiding.
They're not. Things haven't gone to ruin. They're just underground.
Yeah,
legitimately.
They do not want to be seen.
They're all face down in a pallet of baked beans.
Yeah, exactly. All of them. Every last one.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Giant letters.
Telling face down in a pallet of baked beans, telling you shut up.
Yeah, but not
shut
even.
Shut the hell up.
Not even like stop. Quit calling us. It's stop. They listen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're gonna get us all in trouble.
Yeah. Exactly. Like you are messing this up. Clearly, there's going to be some panic.
So, okay, before we go further, I'm curious because now what I would wonder as a viewer is, where is this presence? They must be on the moon, because
we don't know.
How would they, for so much time, have the moon in such fear, but they must not hear the noise we're making on Earth? We're making a racket down here.
Well,
a real racket.
So now listen. Now we're getting to the point where now we've got cell phones. We've got we're kind of in that modern age.
Yeah.
So before, absolutely, we're sending off radio signals. We're making a lot of noise.
Yeah.
And stop. They listen.
Yeah.
So now
ominous, spooky, kind of got my heart pumping a little bit.
Yeah.
So, scary stuff.
Yeah. So we got to panic.
Okay.
And now you got to think, how would our world react to this if all of a sudden scientific community, not knowing what this could even mean is like, turn off your cell phones, no more radio broadcasts.
Well, once again, I think the who cares people win because they're going to say, yeah, shut up.
Yeah.
But they're also probably the same people who don't like to be told what to do.
Exactly.
So they're
I
not
see
gonna
this being a big problem.
They're not going to want to turn their radios off.
No, exactly.
I don't think the general public would take kindly to just turn off all your electronics for a while.
Exactly.
I think they'd be pretty pissed, including me.
You'd get some people that are probably going to be like, I'm going to go live off the land in the middle of nowhere.
I'm going to turn my music off.
Never be heard from again.
Yeah.
But you'd try convincing the general public, turn off all your cell phones, all your TVs, where nobody's
We're essentially
broadcasting.
done with electricity for a while because we're scared and we don't know why.
So
we don't know. We can't really exactly tell you why.
Yeah.
But we can assure you, from what we can tell you, it is spooky.
Yeah, exactly. It seems really bad.
That's enough to work.
But we don't know
in society. I think if you're spooky enough, I think people will play ball.
Do you think that happened these days? Like, I don't.
Most
have the same
most
comfort level with that.
Most do. I would say most do.
Yeah,
most get pretty spooked.
Well, we're gonna say for the sake, of just for this story here, like they don't listen. They're not turning off.
This
the
is
TVs.
World War II.
Yeah, well,
you've got one half that's complete silence and everybody's bored, and the other half is watching movies and just blaring like, "Come on, Phil!"
Yeah, exactly.
So they're just like, "Yeah, fuck you" to the other guys.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's nobody we're still broadcasting. It's just not going to change. So obviously everybody's scared. Not everybody. The people who don't care just are going to keep living their everyday lives.
I think stop is a pretty scary message from aliens.
I would
agree. Your first contact is just like, stop.
Yeah.
I think especially they deciphered our language just to tell us to shut the hell up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's
stop. So, and kind of thinking back, we're going to circle back a little bit. Now, throughout time here,
they would have to comment on the other items we left in there, like the time capsule, more items. Like they'd be like, making fun of like Bill Clinton's saxophone or something because we gave it to him.
Did you really send us keyboard, cat?
Nobody's impressed by the Bill Clinton saxophone. And stop.
Just knock it off. Circling back. So now we throughout time here we've had eventually the telescope we feel like we see shapes. It doesn't really go anywhere. It's kind of like
it
that's the cool
comes
observation.
Into focus and it becomes more scary. And we say, hey, why? What's going on? Is that scary? And as we get close, they say, stop.
Yeah.
They're listening. And we go, this is way scarier than just whatever we could have thought this was. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, we've had this progression of time. Just one thing happens,
no answers for hundreds of years.
No answers.
But it still gets talked about.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
People are still very like, oh, you weren't even alive. Let me tell you about what happened when. Okay.
So
there wouldn't be any update. Are we still just hundreds of years of what? No electricity, radio frequencies, things like that?
Oh, they're just going to keep going. They're going to keep it pushing.
Okay, so but there's people the whole time being like, what are we doing?
Exactly.
What are you doing?
Yeah, there's definitely going to be people out there.
And it would take hundreds of years. That would be after 5 years, everybody's going to call you a moron if you're still saying to turn your radio off.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, dude, it didn't happen. Nobody's coming.
So
get online. You haven't been on Warzone in days.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that's what it would be.
You know how long those letters have probably been there? It's probably been there forever.
They probably wrote it for the last Earth before our ice age.
So some years pass. Everybody's still just life just goes on. Nobody changes any of their habits. So in the grand scheme of things,
even if they did, I think they the people that were like, yeah, we can't use radio frequencies. This is fucking spooky stuff. Like their kids would be like, yeah, my dad's a loon. He won't let us use radios, but when he goes to bed, I turn on radio. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then it would there's always pushback from the younger generation. So it would quickly become like nothing's happening.
Yeah.
And people could live their whole lives and be right. And then it'd be like their kids or grandkids that whatever your next thing you're going to say is, I can tell you're itching for the big.
Well, we're pretty much at the finale here. So we'll, I'm sure, go back and discuss a little bit. But
okay.
So again, some years pass. Not that many in the grand scheme of events that we've discussed in this story, but they're important years. It'd be a time very similar to our own. More and more advances happen. It'll likely resemble modern times here. Maybe they get that double decker. But not once did the bleeding of the signal cease. It just wasn't enough. They just kept broadcasting. So one day, an anomaly is detected, within the scientific community. So very large mass, likely an asteroid hurtling towards the moon that absolutely should not be. They don't know how this could have happened, but
like
it's
it
going
was something they were maybe monitoring and it changed course and now is on a direct path.
Yes.
Like as if somebody highlighted it towards the moon, or
almost if something changed its trajectory.
A tennis racket.
So
a cosmic tennis racket is...
No models predicted this.
Couldn't have happened. It's a statistical impossibility, the scientists would say.
So it's the big one. This is gonna end it, because it's that big. It's gonna hit the moon. So now we've got essentially, I had put, I think, whatever amount of time, it was weeks to years essentially we could use, but we've got this thing just hurtling towards the moon. And, there's obviously the entire world's in a panic.
We know there's at least someone living on the moon.
Oh, yeah, exactly. There's something going on there. Now this asteroid's headed there. So even if, what would we do? It's like, we know people are there. They're getting hit.
Well, I can tell you everybody's going to come outside and look at it.
Yes.
That's the only thing I can guarantee. I don't think we'd be able to help it because everything we've tried to send up gets destroyed or stopped somehow. So... And that's the other question is, so if something was stopping those flights, I'll call them, that we were sending up there, aren't these people already aware of us? Or not people, but aliens or whatever the bad guys are.
Yeah.
Aren't they already, something stopped? Did the moon destroy it? Did the moon people destroy it? Or did the fear destroy it?
Right. The way I kind of see this is they destroyed the civilization on the moon. Whatever happened, they happened. So this happened, and
anything that goes up there gets destroyed essentially.
They maybe something was left there, a remnant. It's a big old electric fence. Who knows? But something is there, and we can only assume it's they. So that is what happened to the moon.
I just had a glimpse of somebody opening the box and finding the Bill Clinton saxophone and playing it, and somebody being like, "Stop!"
He's like, "Put it."
We can't
hear you.
They don't know. But sorry.
No. I mean, so obviously, the world's going to try to come together, see if they can do anything about this, whatever's about to hit the moon. They just don't know whatever's going to happen. So
we're like, well, fuck them. I guess we can't do anything. And then it changes courses and starts coming right at us. And we're like,
oh boy, let's go back to the drawing board.
Moon, help us. Moon.
So, and we'll just say the coming, we're getting close here to when the timeline's going to happen of when, the whatever's going to be at the moon.
Okay.
So now we're looking back at the moon because we haven't stopped, checking them out, seeing what's going on there. And now where once was stop, they listen, is just they have come. Just giant letters. And within, we'll just say days, the whole world's communications all get just disrupted.
So now you can't use your radios.
Yeah, nothing's happening. Well, you get to hear
EMPs
precisely one word: harvest.
So that you turn on your TV, you turn on your radio, it's just harvest.
Yep, it's just harvest. That's it. Basically a mass signal. So imagine just ear piercing, whatever. It's just harvest. That's it.
I thought the aliens would be listening to better stuff.
You would think. So, where I ended here, and we can obviously explore, some different options, but in the coming weeks, against the backdrop of an impending apocalypse where the moon's going to get, essentially destroyed by a meteor, the entire planet is just taken. They just show up, they harvest.
Or the moon?
Earth, I would imagine.
We just get pillaged by aliens.
Yep, we just get taken. That's it.
As we're murdered or we're slaves or what's happening?
I left it ambiguous. Do to me? I did leave it ambiguous. It's probably not good.
So leaving it ambiguous would be what exactly?
So, all I really had here is the ships, they come, they pick people up, they leave, and, the people who were able to hide basically get to hide, long enough.
They hide long enough to leave notes saying, stop talking.
Well, no, I mean, look, these guys don't get much. Basically, the asteroid or whatever it is hits the moon, it shatters. And pieces of that hit the Earth, it's done. That's it. So they get to live long enough to see the world destroyed by a destroyed moon. That's it. Human race is taken.
And at the final moments before the explosion, we looked with our telescopes, and on their writing stone, they had just drawn a dick butt.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yep. So in all of our attempts,
essentially, we would be the moon at that point. We'd have people hiding.
I mean, yeah, for a couple of weeks or whatever.
Or however, I mean, the moon...
It would get destroyed.
The moon people got to hide for a very long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they just basically didn't have, this world-ending event that happened.
It's an interesting attack method for aliens, is that it's not like they show up with lasers and they just explode the planet. They actually use meteors hurling through space and just physics to direct it at you. That's almost a more believable... Why would they waste all that energy? You know what I mean? When it's just like, there's already meteors zipping everywhere. Like, we can just blow on them, right, and make them hit. You know?
Exactly. They're not showing up with the Death Star. They're going to be like, well, let's just, nudge this thing a little bit.
They'd be probably physics and mathematician masters, and it's just like they'd see a meteor, they'd have it all on record and be like, yeah, that's going to be flying by there in like 50 years. Let's just steer right into them.
Yep, exactly. Just give that a little poke and,
Yeah, why would that... Like, a small explosion could totally wreck a planet if you just gave it enough to just send it off course, right? Or on course, rather, right at a planet.
Yeah.
That's an interesting method I never thought about.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, that's it for humans. It's just done. No, they're all gone. They've been taken for whatever purpose it may be. Like I said, I like the idea of leaving this one a little more ambiguous.
So it's just a guy face down in a can of beans, fade to black.
Yep, as the world blows up.
That's the last guy who's able to experience life on Earth.
Yep.
So we never see the aliens. That's the best way. It's the best way to do it.
Yep, never see them.
Should never see the aliens, or the monster, or whatever.
Exactly. Like, you never see them. I like the idea that they've been there all along, essentially, as far as like maybe they left behind some kind of thing that like they're starting to see, like the rockets come out, so they're just destroying them, or whatever case may be. But at least one gets through.
We never explain the harvest. It's just spooky enough. It's just all about spooky intrigue.
Yep,
is what it is.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, there's nothing else to it. They just see this, be like, oh, what? And then the aliens show up, and
all you know is that something terrible happened on the moon, and if we don't shut the fuck up, it's going to happen here, and we won't shut the fuck up.
Exactly.
That's the takeaway. It's what's going to be on the back of the VHS.
Yep.
That's it.
If we could just shut up, we'll be fine.
If we could all shut the fuck up, we wouldn't be like the moon.
Exactly.
And people will go,
Yep, that's the moral of the story.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, it's I don't feel like it's like a, feature-length movie where you're following like, a cast of characters around. I feel like
it could, well, you definitely, there can't really be a cast of characters if you're going to jump generations, unless you did something. Well, like I said, you could spend enough time in each time period. Maybe you make it like 4 different time periods, and you do it, you think about it long enough where like you could spend 30 minutes with each of these group of characters, and you could have some development there to give, because you would need some to give an actual, this is how people are feeling right now. And you'd have to like, when people are having this debate.
Yeah, this is the emotion of the time.
You can't just show the arguments people are having. You have to kind of show like, these are both normal people, and they're both respectable, smart people, but they don't agree on this.
Yeah.
And whatever. And then, you could do that and have like your characters or whatever, but it would definitely, you'd have to add another twist or two, or more contact, I guess, to do anything over an hour.
Right.
I would say. So
that's where I kind of felt like it was more fitting with like a Black Mirror or Twilight Zone.
Would the twist be? I kind of like the idea of, we talked about it earlier, of witnessing an alien crash on a planet you can't reach. And that the seeing it could be recorded, anything, and it could be the moon, but it would just be like, we all saw what happened.
Right.
It's on video. We know what happened. We can still see the ship.
Yeah.
We got to get up there and see what they're working with.
Yeah. So
I think that's an interesting alien, crash story, is seeing it but too far away, and then having to just know that for 300 years.
Right.
Or something. I like that aspect of it, of people just living their whole lives of being like, well, we all know there is at least one alien.
Right, exactly. Like, we just don't have the answer. It's something's there, and we just don't know.
Some people would argue it was sent from Earth.
Right.
There would always be somebody who's just like, yeah, I'm not buying it.
Yeah. So yeah, like what inspired me in the first place for this one is just the idea of, basically two civilizations kind of like just existing apart but next to each other.
But you can see enough to know nothing about them, but just that they're there and like, hey, they build buildings too.
Right, exactly. Like it just kept going in my head, it's similar to that. It's like, what if we're on completely different timelines of just advancements? Like, we're walking around with cell phones and they're just like, did you hear the saxophone? Saxophone?
We spend trillions of dollars to get up there just to like, it's like when you see somebody and you're like, oh yeah, like a stranger and you're like at a concert or something. You're like, oh, this guy will think this is funny. And you start a conversation and as soon as you get their response, you're just like, oh, this person's an idiot. I don't want to talk to this person. And then, like, that's essentially what happened. You go all the way to the moon, you spend trillions of dollars and you're like, they're cavemen.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, there's nothing here.
Right. I mean,
we're
that could
be
totally
showing
be
them shit for the end of time.
Yeah, I really liked that idea. It's just like the two different civilizations, apart from each other. So there's like, obviously I came up with my own little, story here, but I feel like that's a good backdrop. There's plenty more that could be done with it.
Yeah, I think at another twist, you got a full movie. We'll greenlight it. I'll do it.
So, all right, but we'll finish it.
Yeah. No, I mean I won't.
Yeah, I had no intention to.
Somebody may, if we could flesh it out a little bit.
Yep.
But
yeah,
not bad. Like I said, I didn't know where you were going at first, but then once it kind of, say the telescope came into focus, I started seeing that there was structure there.
Yep.
So
yep.
Yeah, pretty good. I will say that I'm hearing more and more about advancements in AI.
Yeah,
where we could, in our lifetime, we may be able to feed these episodes into something and watch the movie,
which would be amazing.
It could happen.
Like, just put the transcripts into an AI program and see what happens. Well, probably really bad.
It won't generate the video yet, but things are moving pretty quick.
All right,
and I think that someday,
maybe AI will finish.
Someday we'll watch the movie and we'll both sit there and go,
Can't believe I wasted my time on this.
Yeah, can't believe I waited 30 years for this to pop up. Just like it took us so long to see the wreckage on the moon.
Yep, exactly.
But
I think that's our podcast for today.
You think that's it?
I think that's it.
All right.
We'll never finish it, but I think we've come far enough.
Of course not. But we're going to remind everybody you can listen on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Music, and anywhere you get podcasts. You can watch our live streams on Twitch and YouTube, hang out in the chat. You can even comment, and if it's relevant to the movie, we'll help you, or we'll read it in your name, and you can help us finish this thing, maybe. You can please check us out on social media. We're on most platforms. That's the best way to find out when we'll be recording our next live stream. You can find all those links at linktree/WWFTpod. We'll be doing our next live stream. We already have the date. It's July 27th. And it's Thursday, 8 p.m., YouTube and Twitch. You can find those links at linktree/WWFTpod. And we're going to have our first guest. We've never had a guest before.
Never had a guest.
Yeah, someone who wants to come in and pitch a movie to us, and there's gonna be 3 of us, and we're gonna see how that goes. Yep. So check it out. It's something special. It's new to us. So
yep. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Spaceman signing off.
Yep. Thanks for checking it out, and we will see you next time.